There are roughly 1,000 differentially expressed genes between a man and woman's liver, which means that we process and experience alcohol and drugs very differently. Men are able to read smaller print than women, but women on average can hear a lot better. Kissing stimulates 29 different muscles and releases a ton of different chemicals in our brain that cause relaxation. Women tend to like light and frequent kisses, while men like them to be more strenuous and aggressive. I have a feeling you guys know what I'm about to say. Psychology tricks that I know work because I use them. Part 7, yeah! If you're doing something that you don't want to get caught for, like you don't want to be seen, don't look at the person or the people you're trying not to get caught by, if that makes sense. Eye contact subconsciously makes us aware that people are looking at us, so if you don't make contact of the eyes, you're more than likely not going to get caught. When you first meet somebody, try to notice the color of their eyes. This moment that it takes to do this is the perfect amount of time to show them that you're polite and interested, but not enough time for it to come off as creepy. Plus, they're gonna like you a little bit more. If you want somebody to agree with what you're saying, nod while saying it. This subconsciously tricks their brain into thinking what you're saying is a fact. This works especially well in job interviews. Part 8 is coming soon, so you should definitely follow me if you haven't already. I mean, like, come on, like, I'm fun to be around. Psychological disorders that sound way too weird to even be real, but they are. Coro is when an individual has the overwhelming feeling that his penis or her nipples are going to retract into their body permanently, even though there is no evidence or medical backing behind this at all. Synesthesia is a state of mind where you think that you can see sound and even taste color. Foreign accent syndrome is usually caused by a stroke or some sort of head injury, but when it happens, a person will wake up speaking their same language, but in a completely foreign accent. Space facts. Our sun is insanely huge, and I don't think you understand how big it actually is. If we shrunk it down to the size of a normal door, Earth, the planet we all live on, the place we have in big cities, the mountains that take days to climb, would all be shrunk down to the size of a nickel. Because of sunlight and the fact that there is no atmosphere on the moon acting as a filter means that all of the flags ever planted on the surface have been completely bleached white. The asteroid belt in between Mars and Jupiter isn't as dangerous as you think. NASA doesn't even take it into consideration when launching probes out in that direction because they're so far apart the likelihood of them colliding with anything is so low. The idea that you need to weave and dodge in between a bunch of asteroids is completely science fiction. Psychology tricks that I know work because I use them. Shoot for the stars, you guys. If you ever want something from somebody, make sure you make your original offer ridiculously high. That way in the compromise, you get the actual number that you want, whether you're trying to sell something to somebody and you just want a good price, or if you just want your kids to eat more vegetables. If you know that somebody doesn't like you and you want to change that, ask them for a really small favor. Like ask them to borrow a pen or something. Initially, if they don't like you, they're not going to want to give you the pen, but it's such a small favor to ask that they're going to do it anyway. And for some reason, in their mind, it's going to trick them into thinking that you're not that bad. Make sure you give the pen back though, because I don't like people that take my pens. So, you know how people tend to remember the beginning of things and the end of things way more than like the rest of the things? If you want to be more memorable and stand out in somebody's mind, you can use this to your advantage. If you ever have a job interview, try to be the first or last one. If you ever go on a date, make sure it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. You're going to make a much stronger impression on them. Holy shit, you guys. How to win any argument ever. So there are only 3 steps with like little itty bitty steps in between them to win an argument. You have to engage your opponent in a discussion, express your point of view, and then just get them to agree. To do the first one, ask your opponent to explain their thoughts. And while they're doing this, make sure you make direct eye contact and mirror their body motions a little bit. When they're done, reiterate what they said so they understand that you know what they're talking about, and it's also helpful to acknowledge the parts that you agree with and why. To do part 2, please make sure you understand your point of view and the facts surrounding it thoroughly. It also doesn't hurt to ever use hedges to soften up the overall tone of the argument or even use verbal affirmation at the end of the sentences. Also, don't yell at them. Try to have a discussion like an adult. Getting somebody to agree with you is a lot harder, but it is possible if you use tactics like the extreme agreement. And if you're just trying to find common ground with the person while still holding firm on your beliefs, things usually go your way. Side note, never argue like you're fighting a person, argue like you're fighting the problem. Try to have more of a discussion than an argument. I'm Jayus. reasons the world could end right now that we have absolutely no control over.
Might have to cup like I'm a cop and she a crime. She be in my
Welcome to part 10 of psychology tricks that I know work because I use them. Did you know that colors affect your mood a lot? Cool colors like blue, green, and purple can make you feel more relaxed and slow you down a bit, but warm colors like red, orange, and yellow can make you feel more aggressive and impulsive, which is really good for sports teams and why you always end up overpaying at Target for some reason. They can also make you really hungry, which is why companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, KFC, In-N-Out, Domino's all use these in their logos. If you take more note about the colors around you and how they make you feel, it's going to give you a leg up in taking control of your own emotions. Countless studies have shown that if you listen to classical music or really any music that doesn't have lyrics in it while studying, your grades will improve. Like seriously, just do it. I personally listen to lo-fi hip hop, but you can throw on some Bach or Mozart if you want to. I'm not here to judge you, man. I'm just trying to help you pass your test. So I have one more trick. I usually do 3, but I've ran out of time. So I'm gonna make a part B to my part 10, so keep an eye out for that. Psychology tricks, part 10B, that I know work because I use them in my school bathroom, and we're just gonna hope that nobody walks in. Somebody walked into the bathroom, so we're going to a new one. Are you the type of person that gets that itch to buy like a brand new phone every single year, even though you know it's gonna break your bank and you have a perfectly fine working phone to begin with, but you just love the feeling of getting a new phone? Try this instead. Try replacing your phone case every once in a while, that way you get a new feel. Also replace the screen protector every time it gets gross or dirty or cracked, because there's 2 brands. There's Zag and Armor Edge that have lifetime warranties, which means every time you want to get a new one, you can. You just have to have your receipt and then you can go and replace it for free. I've been doing it for years, and yes, I did change bathrooms again because somebody walked in and I'm an awkward piece of shit. One last thing you can do to scratch that itch and trick your brain into thinking you got a brand new phone is actually replacing the battery every time your battery health gets past like 80%. It's $40. I'd highly recommend it. You get basically another year out of your phone. I've had this thing since junior year of high school. I'm a junior in college now. Works perfectly fine. Psychological disorders that sound way too weird to even be real, but they are. Part 2. Face blindness has always been really interesting to me, but it's hard to kind of wrap my head around. It's the idea that somebody can recognize traits of a person except for their face. Kind of like how normal humans can't distinguish between like a dog's face or like a dolphin's face, but we can distinguish and tell the difference between other humans' faces. A person with face blindness can't. We apparently all look the same to them and they can't tell the difference based on our faces. Exploding head syndrome is an auditory hallucination disorder where people will hear like loud bangs and crashes just throughout their day. It can happen a couple times, it can happen once every while, it can happen when they're awake or when they're asleep, and it's insane because like it's just not happening in reality, but they hear it so vividly. Alien hand syndrome is a rare neurological disorder that causes involuntary hand movements, and the user is just like not aware or in control of it at all. They might reach for things or manipulate things without them wanting to, and they even have to like use their normal hand to try and restrain their alien hand. Ways the world could end right now that we would have absolutely no control over. How fun is that? You know what's scary? Black holes. You know what's scarier? Rogue black holes. Researchers estimate there's about 10 million black holes in our galaxy right now that orbit just like any normal star. But with a normal star, if it was headed our way, we would have some sort of warning. With black holes, it's a lot harder to tell. So if one was headed our way, it'd take a couple decades, but everything we know would be swallowed whole and just completely gone. Every few 100,000 years or so, the Earth's magnetic fields disappear and then come back completely flipped. The last time this happened was 780,000 years ago, and if it happens again, the world will be thrown into chaos because GPSs just aren't going to work, and particle storms and cosmic rays are going to become a huge problem. There are about 30,000 particle accelerators on our planet right now that theoretically could be creating a bunch of subatomic black holes that are eating away at our planet as we speak, and by the time we realized it, it'd be too late. So I'm not claiming to be a genius or anything, but I do want to let you guys know that I have a lot of great ideas that I think could turn into something good, you know? So you should give me a follow.